Why people don't even season their video game characters. If you've been on YouTube or Zitter in the past 2 weeks, you've probably seen this Aryan god on your timeline or recommended page at some point. Meccha Chameleon is the hit new indie friendslop game sweeping the nation that all your favorite future child predator YouTubers are raving about. From the Amerimuts to the Europors, it seems nobody can get enough of this wacky game and all its hilarious moments that it arises.
Unexpected item in
Now, you may look at this game and think, wow, another gimmicky game to play with your friends for a week. This would be cool if I had friends, but I'm just gonna go back to playing TF2 like a rocket slave. But that's where you'd be wrong, because Meccha Chameleon isn't like all the other hippofoids. Because this game was made in Japan. And we all know that everything is made better in Japan. The art, the music, the food, the birth rates, the child porn. Okay, in all seriousness, with my serious hat on, I think this game has actually done a good job setting itself apart from the rest of these YouTube-bait games. And I think some of that can be attributed to Japanese culture, maybe, but it's mostly this button right here. Yeah, this button right here. You see, that whole thing versus thing Japan thing has been fact-checked by true cockaborians. The idea that things are cooler in Japan is rooted in the fact that Japan has a very strong, tight-knit culture and a high-trust society, unlike their rootin'-tootin' counterparts in the West. Now, if I were to say why that is, Neil Mohan would personally lift the roof off of my house and grab me with his big poopy hands, before putting me in a big witch's cauldron of curry and guzzling it down. So instead I'm gonna put this little graph right here. Now that I'm done finishing my bowl of racism, I should probably explain to you what the hell this heckin' incomprehensible game is. Meccha Chameleon, like 1930s Germany, is a hide-and-seek-like game, where one group of people are the seekers, and the others are the seek-ed, who have to avoid being caught. Do you think if Anne Frank painted herself and stood against the wall, she wouldn't have been caught? Like most things in life, this genre of game has its roots in garrys mod, with both the hide-and-seek and prop hunt game modes. But the concept can be dated back all the way to 1998 with cratedm by Chris Holden, a Quake 2 mod that's pretty much just prop hunt, but the only prop is a wooden crate. This simple mod would go on to be the catalyst for its garrys mod successor, as well as an insightful look into the average workday of a USPS employee. I think everyone, or at least everyone around my age, has memories of playing some kind of prop hunt adjacent game. It's kind of weird how so many games that have nothing to do with hide and seek have some sort of weird game mode related to it. Halo 3, a bunch of the Call of Duty games for some reason, Battlefield 3, StarCraft, Warcraft, Minecraft, Craftcraft. Even I, who grew up as a big gay loser PS3 kid, have fond memories of playing hide and seek on Little Big Planet 2. And you can Google it right now, that's the only game on that system. The only games I remember playing on my PS3 were Little Big Planet and Naughty Bear. To all the starving kids in Africa who don't have water, just know that there's someone out there whose childhood was Naughty fucking Bear. And that game too had its own weird online game modes. Granted, none of them were hide and seek, but can you imagine being the kid on the school bus being like, does anybody want to come over to my house and play Naughty Bear? With all of these games that, despite not having anything to do with prop hunt, having it as a game mode, it makes you wonder why there really isn't any standalone prop hunt games. Well, there are standalone prop hunt games, Witchit, Run Prop Hunt. The problem is that nobody wants to play these. The people who want to play these are the same people who want to play Naughty Bear. Yeah, for some reason it seems the only way people actually want to play prop hunt is when it's attached to a game they already like. The inconvenient truth is that prop hunt and game modes like it have and always will be that. A game mode, a gimmick attached to another experience as a bonus. You will never be a game! It's really only been in recent years that indie devs have taken these gimmicky ideas and tried to turn them into full-fledged titles, which is also the same reason all these gimmicky friendslop games die within a week or two. Indie game devs genuinely think they deserve to live. Prop hunt is a really odd case for me, since it feels like it really hasn't gotten the friendslop treatment, since it's been sort of pre-established that it's nothing more than a game mode to be packaged with another game. Like peanut butter and jelly, like gay people and grooming children. In order to make a prop hunt-like game work, you need to slather on a big, hot, and steamy amount of stuff on top of it to really make it... sorry, I was reading my Pomni hentai. In order to make a prop hunt-like game work, you need to add a good amount of stuff on top of it to make it worth being a standalone title, which I think Meccha Chameleon actually kinda succeeds at. maybe I don't know, we'll get into that later. As you'll soon see, Meccha Chameleon has a really unique style to it that I think adds a lot to its charm. When you open the game, you're greeted by this distinctive blend of bright popping colors that contrast with the more grungy urban background. I don't know how to put this in terms that people who aren't big gay nerds who play Naughty Bear like me would understand, but I really love this menu design. It reminds me a lot of an old Kick the Buddy clone I used to play as a kid called Smash Dude, and no, it was not a game about fucking men. The game really wasn't all that noteworthy, but the way it looked was kind of stuck in my mind. I think it's the generic stock textures and that unprofessional style of shading that really did it, where every shadow was just black with a Gazon blur. It was just an amateur thing that was common back in the iPod Touch days, or as I like to call it, the iTouch Kids days. But I'm glad people have finally learned how to use chromatic shading, since out of all the colors we need more of in the world, black is not one of them. The menu really has that certain indescribable, incomprehensible soy Jack charm to it. Same can be said about the whole game. I think it's the bright and bubbly characters, music, and maps and whatnot, combined with that sort of urban menu and atmosphere that gives it a sort of incredible gassy, becoming uncanny feeling. In the year 2023, some hipster millennial is gonna go into an alleyway and be like, "Oh my Fauci, these brick walls are so heckin' urban grunge city core?" And then get stabbed to death by a black guy. Anyway, video essay slop aside, I know I did just praise the menu, but I gotta say, the buttons just feel really jank. Maybe I'm just a dundermuffin idiot retard, but it feels like sometimes you have to press escape twice to exit a settings menu. And it's also really awkward that you can't click on exit like you can any other button, you have to press escape. It feels like all my inputs are drenched in, I don't know, sterling gubby peanut butter. Gubby porn. I also don't think I've ever played a video game where the default audio resolution is low. Is it oh my god. Is it tradition in Japan to listen to your MP3s in like 96 kbs? I know that all the boys finger each other over there, but this just seems a bit excessive. Anyway, we get into a game and, oh yeah, I should probably explain the part that makes this game different from the other friendslop games. You see, Meccha Chameleon actually has a server browser, so if you're someone who watches Ugly Dixie Chicken videos, you too can play this game! For some reason, a lot of these other friendslop games don't have a server browser, which, like being born in China in the 1960s, limits their potential growth quite substantially, as it cuts off a significant amount of people who either don't have a lot of friends, or even ones who play games, or can't consistently get a group of friends together to play a game. All of which also watch Ugly Dixie Chicken. I'm assuming it's mostly because these developers know that these games are very gimmicky in nature and, like a Chinese child born in 1960, aren't bound to last too long. So why bother paying for servers and dealing with all the problems that come with that? Being a friendslop developer is a very Jewish job title. I think I can get behind that. But also, all of these games use a peer-to-peer connection when playing with friends, which is also what Meccha Chameleon does. So why don't they have a server browser?
Nah, they just fucked up.
The server browser is indeed a server browser. I don't know, what do you want me to fucking say? It's been like 10 minutes and all I've done is talk about the menu, fucking Naughty Bear, Smash Dude, whatever. Server browser has a lot of tags. Closest comparison is probably SCP, Secret Laboratory, or Lethal Company. You know, ChibiReviews probably really likes that Kancho statue. Then we get into the actual game, and I'm back to being impressed by the art direction and how everything looks. This hub area here gives me that same vibe as the menu with the pitch black. Oh, my science, guys. Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with me. Abyss, and all the flowing colors and random objects around. It's cool. Not as cool as Smash Dude. Like the average lesbian couple, I've been kind of beating around the bush because the gameplay itself is probably the hardest part to discuss in detail. On paper, it's very simple. There's two teams, hunters and chameleons. The chameleons have to hide themselves by blending into the scenery, whilst the hunters have to find them. But when you take a closer look, there's a lot more complexity to it. You see, not every map is the same. And I mean no shit, Einstein, there's more than one map. What I mean is that every map has a bunch of different versions of it with slight alterations to it. This encourages chameleons to pick different spots each time, and also discourages hunters from trying to learn the map to rat out the best spots to check since it's different each time, making it a much more enjoyable experience for everyone. There's so many maps! This map, that map, this map, you're a map, I'm a map. No, I didn't mean it like that! This negates a problem with a lot of prop hunt games nowadays, as veterans either go out of their way to, or just through experience, learn the maps in and out so they know the best hiding places and places to look for props, leading to a stale experience for both parties. I'm sure in prison a lot of veterans learn maps in and out. The choice of making the players try to blend into the environment through camouflage instead of literally becoming a part of it actually solves a lot of issues that prop hunt faces. Meccha Chameleon encourages thorough searching. For all my noticing pattern recognizers in the audience, this game may be for you. You're rarely ever by accident gonna magic bullet a chameleon as a hunter like you can in prop hunt, which in turn makes it a lot more mechanically simpler than prop hunt, because they don't need to nerf the hunter by making him take damage when he guesses wrong or limit his ammo or give him Down syndrome. Meccha Chameleon is more about mind games than it is about hiding. A true thinking man's game.
Imagine, if you will, an Indian man falls into a big thing of poop, and nobody's around to hear it. Does it even happen? Where does the poop end and the Indian man begin?
As a chameleon, you're never truly hidden since you're a 3D man thing hugging another thing. Sometimes hugging another man thing, you know, it's okay, we're all from Cape Cod. So when it comes to camouflaging yourself, you have to take into account the perspective of where the hunter may look at you from, the texture of the area you're trying to blend into. Even when just picking a spot, you have to take into account how easy it is to blend into, the best pose, and how obvious it is, because you don't want it to be too obvious, but obvious enough that the hunters glance over it. Now, I don't mean to give away my top classified pro gaming pro Jared secrets over here. But this spot right here that I really like is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Sure, I'm dolling myself up like Boblax over here trying to blend in, but I think it's pretty obvious that if a hunter were to look in my general vicinity, I'd be, like any school child within 50 yards of a transgender, shot to bits. Let's face it, I stick out like a sore thumb. No amount of EDZ or converse the fact that I'm a hunky twink sex machine clinging against the wall. Fucking jardy. But the genius of the spot is that behind me is a big, hot, steamy load of science. Damn it! How did my gobbles porn slip in here? But the genius of the spot is that behind me is a big old bowl of nothing, so the hunters don't even bother to look. Look at this. This is genius. I am patenting this spot. If you use this spot without proper licensing, then well, Jews don't really like me for whatever reason, so I don't have lawyers. But I'll do something. I'll rip you. There's also this weird point system that I forgot to mention, where the chameleons earn points when hunters walk past you or look close to you without spotting you. This leaderboard system is a deep analysis of modern societal pressure. I'm just kidding. Really, it doesn't do anything. So it's really just there to help the hunters determine the general location of a hard-to-find chameleon based on their points, as the counter gets intermittent updates during the round. To sum up my thoughts for all my 70 IQ third worlders in the audience, I think for the most part, Meccha Chameleon succeeds where prop hunt fails. Not entirely, but it does make a whole lot of improvements. There's a lot of minor things wrong with Meccha Chameleon. The UI design for the painting, I think, is definitely one of the biggest drawbacks. Get it? Drawbacks? As someone who's used to drawing programs, I'm fine with it, but I can see how it can be very daunting for someone not as autistic as the likes of I. As a designer, I guess, I would have definitely probably went with a much more simple square color wheel, as opposed to the color circle, since it provides both black and white, as opposed to only white, and dedicating sliders to both, even though the wheel already has white to begin with. Wait, segregating black from the rest of the colors. What do they mean by this? It's not the biggest deal in the universe. Most of the time you're just going to be using the eyedropper anyway. But I've noticed that the way it works is also kind of finicky. I've noticed sometimes it just can't get the right color. I don't know if it's grabbing the color from the texture or bringing into account the lighting, but it's very hit or miss. Kind of like a lesbian couple. You can see here in the God spot that I was previously talking about that when I try to copy the shiny gold bit, it's only getting the base color. So you'd assume the eyedropper is taking the color from the raw texture. But in this clip, you can also see I'm getting varying shades of black from the same window, as if it was accounting for the lighting.
What's up, y'all? Mic isn't on.
This game is also super stingy with its collision detection.
Goodness gracious.
I didn't say you sounded like that.
Dude, what the
This
fuck?
game is-
I am completely out in the open and it's like, you're buried too much.
But I think the biggest issues with Meccha Chameleon are the same issues that plague prop hunt. Let's face it, being a hunter is fucking boring. When you're the chameleon, it's tense, it's exciting, the fear of being caught, being right under the hunter's nose, being inches away from death without the person hunting you even knowing. It makes you jolt your head in cumin ecstasy all over your Game Over's poster, just at the very thought. Being the hunter is just this. I stroke my grown, he chose the only one that I will ever blow. You'd have more fun cracking gobbles. The game also just generally gets pretty stale after a couple of rounds. The one thing Prop Hunt has going for it is that it's a game mode attached to an already popular thing, so when people get bored of it, they can always play another game mode and come back. When people inevitably get bored of Meccha Chameleon, which will generally be around the same time for everyone, the chances of them coming back are slim, since they'll see the player count and just assume that nobody wants to play. You can only eat wholesome Reddit funny moments a game for so long before it becomes irrelevant and all your friends turn into pedophiles, but I think the biggest issue that Meccha Chameleon faces is cheaters. That's the reason I titled the video like that.
I'm the pantsless evil villain, Stain Boy! Watch me ruin your favorite chair. You're not gonna want to sit in this one again.
It should come as no shock that cheating is a problem facing pretty much every online multiplayer game. Some games have better anti-cheat than others, but even then it's still an issue. Roughly more than 1 in 10 gamers cheat. That's the same statistic for uninsured black people, and this is especially a problem that plagues Prop Hunt and now Meccha Chameleon. Extrasensory perception, or ESP, is the word of the day. Any Indian vibe coder from Zitter can scan for an entity list and read the X, Y, and Z, something view matrix, make an overlay in image UI because DirectX is scary, bim bada boom, oh my Fauci! I don't know where I was going with that, but the point is, making an ESP for a game is pretty easy, and if you do it right, it's literally just undetectable. Object level creator. In a game that's all about finding stuff and hiding, this is like introducing Nova Online into a fucking daycare. There are just so many cheaters in this game, and it doesn't help that this game has zero anti-cheat. Zero protection whatsoever, like ChibiReviews' brother. Mom, Dad, don't look! This problem plagues Prop Hunt just the same, and it's also a major reason why it's dead. Like ChibiReviews' brother. The title of this video is a goof, a gag if you will. From asking around and from my own experience, most cheaters are actually white. Come on guys, we can do better. But regardless, the devs neglecting to add an anti-cheat was a pretty naive decision, and whether or not the devs add an anti-cheat in the future could be the deciding nail in the coffin for this game. From the cheater's point of view, I get it. Playing the hunter is fucking lame and stupid and lame and gay. But at the same time, you trying to make being the hunter easier by cheating just makes being both the hunter and the chameleon suck. Cheating is a very slippery slope in that way, where when one person does it and doesn't face repercussions, it opens the floodgates for every unemployed cord user worth his weight in cheese pizza to say, well, if they're doing it, then why don't I? And all of a sudden now, everyone just knows where everyone is, and at that point, what's the point of even playing the damn game? There's no more booty hair lint for me to pick. Pool's closed. This is the same prisoner's dilemma that leads to things like every item at Walmart, except for sunscreen, being locked behind a case, cameras everywhere, heavy use of verification everywhere, having to check every credit card reader for some kind of skimmer. Well, this specific case is an outlier and culprit. This line of thinking is what has led to the modern decline of the West. And as a result, the uptick in surveillance by Big BB. Like the US, I really like Meccha Chameleon. I think it's a pretty brilliant game with some minor but detrimental flaws, and I don't want to see it die. You may say that my life is like a video game. Wow, this video was really fucking directionless. Thank you to Volva Poppy for the big 15 bones. Special thanks to DJ Nick Yoshi for the heaping 50 macaroonies, goddamn. And also thank you to Arusa, Bellyic, NotAFed5, Chudson Explains, The Tech Jedi, and Herpalooza for all the generous donations to the UDC Defense Forces. And if you excuse me, I think I see a child terrorist playing in the sandbox that I have to blow up now.